Foreign Affairs Committee. Good afternoon, Mr. Amisi. Thank you so much for joining us on News Desk.
Good afternoon.
Declared on national television just a few minutes to 2 a.m. in the morning, and this breaks the tradition of breaking such news, or such pronouncements, which are usually made during the day. Is this how diplomacy works?
Yeah, certainly not. And I think it is also a high time that our neighbors start treating Kenya with equal diplomatic reciprocity that we've always accorded them. And they also stop being reactive, because of course the diplomatic world is marred by a lot of challenges. It is complex, and the issues are just beyond what we see on a face value. But the reactive nature of our neighbors should also be a matter of concern, that these are not how to handle your neighbors. These are not how to solve diplomatic issues. And certainly it is not the best way for a neighbor to act.
Right. Now, you sit in the National Assembly's Defense and Foreign Affairs Committee. So what would you tell Kenyans on how we got here? I mean, could this have been avoided? This is not the first dispute, the most famous one being, of course, the maritime territorial dispute, and now this Somalia accusing Kenya of meddling in its internal affairs. Just how did we get here, and what do we do?
Yeah, of course, I sit in the Committee of Defense and Foreign Relations, but I'm a legislator. I'm not a Minister for Foreign Affairs. So those are questions that are best be able to answered by the Minister in charge of foreign matters. But as a committee, of course, we've been dealing with this matter as it comes before our committee. We've been be able to take to task the Minister in charge of foreign matters, and we'll certainly also be able to call him so that he put us on top of news on what is happening. But as it were, I think all Kenyans have been following what is emanated from our diplomatic ties with Kenya and Somali. And it is actually a matter of all concerns to Kenyans, because we do share a lot similarities. We do business. Our Mira farmers also depends on the Somali market and so many other things. So it is a relationship that needs to be, watered and solved in case of any, diplomatic tiff. The solution must come faster and quickly for the better of the two countries. But I think it is also common knowledge that the Somalis have been behaving in a not so well a manner that is needed of them as a neighbor, and it is the high time they also be told so.
All right, it's the high time they be told. So let's get to the meat of it, and I want us to discuss what this means. And I'm glad you actually brought out the issue of Mira, because that is one key issue that directly affects what we would call the Wanjiko of Kenya. But what does this cutting of the diplomatic ties between the two countries mean, for the Kenyan embassy in Mogadishu, for Somalia's mission in Nairobi, in terms of offering, visa and travel and immigration services to nationals of both, the countries, and protection of the nationals in these two countries?
Yeah, in the diplomatic world, that is just a reactionary measures that are undertaken by a country that, feels either aggrieved, or there is a misunderstanding between the two countries, or there is a bilateral tiff. So I think it is not like the last resort. I think it is a measure that our neighbors have taken so quickly without really understanding and delving deeper into the matters that are surrounding our neighborhood. And Kenya has been at the peace center in the Horn of Africa. We are regarded as the peace nation. So we stand in a position whereby the world looks upon us to maintain peace in our neighborhood. And we are actually the peace beacon of peace, and we are looked upon by the whole world to maintain peace. So Kenya stands in a precarious situation whereby it needs to protect its sovereign power, its sovereignty, and the territorial integrity, as well as balancing between keeping the peaceful coexistence of the neighboring countries and also just maintaining peace among our neighbors. So that's where the role that Kenya play, and especially the Kenya is now playing even a deeper international responsibility, being at the helm of the United Nations. Remember, just recently, we were elected to be a seat of non-permanent in the United Nations Security Council. So that one gives us a high pedestal to act on peace matters regionally and internationally. And therefore, it is a responsibility that Kenya has played for a long time. And I think even at now, we are not in a position whereby I think the ties have been, punctured as such. I think it can be resolved. It is just a reactionary, measures that have come from our neighbors, of which I think the people in charge of Ministry of Foreign Affairs have all the capacity to handle such.
Right. And Honorable Amisi, I think the question that is on everyone's mind is what happens to the military cooperation between Kenya and Somalia in terms of the Kenya having sent its troops to, AMISOM and the whole Al-Shabaab factor. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, as I said, that is a matter that is handled by the relevant ministries. I do not have the capacity and the relevant powers to comment on such matters because it is we have an able ministry, we have an able minister in charge of defense, we have an able minister in charge of foreign affairs, and I know that if you ask them, they'll be able to give you an update of how the situation has been unfolding.
All right, I'm asking in your capacity as a member of parliament who sits in the, Defense and Foreign Affairs Committee. But lastly, even as I get your closing remarks, Honorable Amisi, there appears to be somewhat goodwill from the Kenyan side, if I could quote retired Colonel Oguna, who said that there are more commonalities between the two countries. He actually says a committee has been set up to ensure relations between Kenya and Somalia are normalized. Are you aware of this? And just your comment regarding the reaction from Colonel Oguna.
Yeah, that's very important coming from the government of Kenya. It is actually timely. It is the right thing to do for any government that loves peace. It is like how Kenya has been operating. And I believe that is the way to go. We do not want to tramp on our neighbors just because they are weak. We do not want to react the way they react. We always act as a peaceful nation, and the message that we comes out of the government must be message of peace. And I think that is timely. It is the best way to go. It is the best approach. A committee will be formed, and I know sooner or later we'll be back to normal.
All right, thank you so much, MP Caleb Amisi there, the supporting member of parliament. He also sits in the National Assembly's Committee for Defense and Foreign Affairs. Thank you so much for joining us on News Desk. So we take a short break here on News Desk, but stay with us. We still have lots more after the break.